And welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Greyboys podcast. I'm MacDaddyJean, the Mean Gene Machine. I'm here with just myself. This is going to be a different type of podcast here. It's just going to be me here today, and I want to talk about Gundam. If you've subscribed to this podcast, I'm going to guess that you know something about anime or, I shouldn't have to explain too much about Gundam. And if you're just now subscribing out of nowhere, you just saw us on your homepage, then hey, how you doing? But okay, just as a quick rundown to what Gundam is. Gundam is it's kind of like Power Rangers, and I hope you know what Power Rangers is. But just in the terms of they're giant robots, but there's people inside the robots controlling them. And I may not be selling you the show all that great, telling you, oh, so he's talking about an animated Power Rangers. But it's much more than that. This is a whole series that started in 1979 and is still going on to this day. I was first introduced into Gundam with Mobile Fighter G Gundam when I was a kid. And when I was watching it as a kid, I really enjoyed it. Not sound like a psychopath, but I was super into really dark shows. Back then we had Superman the Animated Series and Batman the Animated Series. I was a way bigger fan of Batman the Animated Series and Batman Beyond and shows like that because I felt like the creators really pushed the envelope on what happens to the heroes and everything. It was still a kid's show, so nothing really bad happened, but there was still that thought in the back of the head could it happen? Because they had really deranged people like Joker and everything. It was for me, it was just the edgier the show, the more I enjoyed it. And Gundam, I don't know if I've met a more edgier show as a kid because the show is just, I don't think there's a single Gundam series that's not encapsulated in a war of some sort. Everyone's just double crossing this person. They got people who you thought was going to stay alive die. They let you get attached to people and they're gone. And it was just, for me, it was just I enjoyed watching it because I think for the first time ever watching a show, I couldn't predict what was going to happen. Is the main character going to live? Is this person who's really important in the show going to live? Is the good guy going to win? Is the bad guy going to lose? So, to explain Gundam a little, so this is a whole series that goes, you can imagine, it started in 1979 and it's still going on to this day with a whole bunch of shows. So the way that it works, it's not a continuous show. It'll keep certain things canon. I see they like to bring back, usually the villain's going to be some blonde guy in a mask, and they have this Haru robot, little cute round robot that's usually around, and certain models of the enemy robots like the Zaku. They'll keep that canon throughout the series, but the way the show works, when it first started, the timeline was UC, which is Universal Century, I believe. Right. And that for the first couple of shows they did, it went a little, for the UC it carried on for a little bit, but then after that I guess the writers wanted to have more creative freedom on how they perceive some, when they created the backstory. So they started with new timelines like the future century, the after colony, the after wars, the correct century, the cosmic era, a whole bunch of names. If you think too much about that, that's going to confuse you even further. But let me just talk about the show itself. So Gundam, I would not recommend this to any kid. To give you an example of how this show really is, the one series I watched, Gundam Seed, just as dark as all the others. I think, for me personally, I think Will would disagree, or maybe he might agree, I'm not sure, but I think Seed is a good introduction into the Gundam franchise. But one scene I want to talk about that I can't get out of my head is the show's season 2 is called Gundam Seed Destiny. And from episode 1, this show goes on to 100. This is gonna be a little bit of a spoiler warning. So if you don't want to know what happens, or just hearing gruesome stuff kind of creeps you out, just you should skip ahead. Um, so in season 2, episode 1, the main character is with his mom and his dad and his little sister. There's war going on. Like I said, this show is just war all the time. So it's two opposing factions. They're firing missiles, lasers, everything's flying around. The hero and his family is running, and while they're running, the kid sister drops her cell phone, and she's just like, "I want my cell phone back." And they're like, "What? No, we gotta go." And she's like, "No, I need my phone." And the main character is just like, "Okay, I'm gonna go down and get it." So he goes, runs down, grabs the phone. Both of the opposing armies fire lasers, and just a giant explosion. It sends the main character flying away, but what happens next is the explosion that happened was like directly where his family was. So I'm guessing everyone's watched some kind of dark, gritty show. If you've seen backstories of people and their family dying, like sometimes they won't show you the body, or if they do show you the body, they won't show you anything too much. They'll just show you someone on the floor, and okay, so that person's dead. Here's what Gundam did. What they did is they had a whole bunch of rubble, and you can see one hand sticking out. So you're thinking, okay, so the hand was bloody, so you're like, okay, so the person's dead. No, 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 they don't stop there. The main character gets a little excited because he's like, okay, so there she is. They're like, that body's there. Maybe I can still save it. And as he gets closer, no, 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 it is just the arm. So you were just seeing a dismembered arm of his little sister. For him then to go look off into the distance, and there's his mom, bloodied, and I think because this was Seed Destiny came out a while ago, so it wasn't really all that clear. I think the mom was also a little bit dismembered. The dad was all bloody and dismembered, and that is episode 1 of season 2. Within like the first 5 minutes, this is the opening of the show, which the show gets even crazier after that. So if you don't plan on watching Seed, and I know if you look online for all the Gundam shows, it does seem a little daunting, like this is a lot. Just look up Seed Destiny episode 1, and I'm like, for me personally, that's like, okay, this is Gundam. Another aspect of Gundam which is really popular is their gunplay. It's pronounced gunpla. People say a whole bunch of different names. You can look it up, but that business is doing bank. It's like, I don't know if you ever saw like model kits, and there's a whole bunch. Like there's for almost everything out there, but the Gundam model kits are really the most popular ones. So he builds this stuff, and he from what he's told me, this is like a day-long thing, and there's different grades of how hard it is, but I think even the smaller one's going to take you a couple of hours. So for my birthday / Christmas, he got me a model kit for the Freedom Gundam. The Freedom Gundam comes from Gundam Seed and Seed Destiny. And he gave me that because that's always been one of my favorite of the Gundams. For some reason, I know they don't really need wings to fly, but I do like the wing design on the Freedom Gundam. Now, since this is my first model kit, I haven't built it yet, but it is my first model kit. So he got me, I don't really know it's called, because I know the model kits go by like master grade and special grade and super kami grade. I'm not sure what this one's called, but I think he got me the easiest of them. And even since this is the easiest of them, it says for ages 15 and up. So he gave me this one, and we're gonna build it one day. We just have to schedule that one out. And but it's not like the no like if you look up the Freedom Gundam, you're gonna see it and like it looks cool and everything. He didn't get me that exactly. So there's something called SD Gundam, called Super Deformed Gundam, and it's not what you think. It's just I feel like that's a whole nother exclamation, but it's like a chibi version, which is like a kiddie version of the Gundam. So it makes it a lot easier for building. But I'm really excited to build it because it's a whole process. You know, you have to get into the whole painting aspect of it and cut in pieces. It's a really meticulous process. So I'm actually pretty excited to get into model kit building and see if I get into it, so I can actually build a real Freedom Gundam. I'm not the best person to talk about Gundam because all I've really watched was G Gundam, Gundam 00, Gundam Seed, and Gundam, the most recent one, Iron Blooded Orphan. But like I said, if you have any real questions and everything, you really need to talk to Will because he's been a fan of it since like the beginning, and he follows through with it and he knows everything. But we just think it's better to hear from let's hear from an outside perspective on Gundam. I think this is a great franchise because of how good they are to the fans. They have a lot of shows that are there just fan servicey that anyone who really is into the whole fandom would get. So there's something. So recently they had a series called Build Fighters, which is not gritty at all. This is 100% a kid show, and I think anyone could enjoy it, but it makes a lot of callbacks that only someone who watches all the Gundams would really thoroughly enjoy. Like they will have Gundams from the first show in 1979 all the way to the shows that's going on currently, Iron Blooded Orphans, which the new season was announced but never came out. It's a show just for the fans, just to see their old Gundams. And I think he mentioned that they have some twists and everything about it. And when I mean like twists, I mean like the Gundams were like slightly updated because if they have like Gundams from like the show back in 1979, the graphics aren't as good as now. So when I say updated, like more popping colors and maybe like they add a little some modernize it. But it's just cool for a series to do that because I know they also released Mobile Suit Gundam: The Origin, which was like this OVA that came out between 2015 and 2018, which was kind of like a retelling from the point of view of the main bad guy for Mobile Suit Gundam, Shar Aznable. I'm sorry if I'm butchering that name, and I don't know what the reception was for it, and maybe I shouldn't be talking about it since I never watched it or anything, but I think it's good for a series to do that, to really focus on the fans and make sure like, you're taking care of the fans that are there, and still bringing in new fans. I think it's really important. It's a really important business model. I know I don't have much time on this left, so all in all, I think everyone should at least look up some of the music for Mobile Suit Gundam. I know they have their own orchestra, and I know they have banging opening and enders. Like the one I put at the beginning of this podcast was from Mobile Suit Gundam 00, one of my favorites. And it's just go on YouTube. You can just go and look up the best fights and everything. I think that'll really bring you into the series. I'm a fan. Can't wait to see what they do next. Thank you for joining me, MacDaddyJean, the Mean Gene Machine, on another episode of the podcast. And we are out.